couple of weeks ago, or would this have happened anyway? Was this so blatant? The killing of a Washington Post reporter, a guy who was an American resident, who had two American children, the torture, the sawing of. I mean, why do you think Republicans are finally standing up?
Well, I don't think we'll ever know exactly the answer to that question because we can't live in a world of counterfactuals. But I do think that, Joe, you're right. I can't. It seems to me given the behavior, Willie cited this. The notion that this is the clearest rebuke. I think the only other rebuke that stands close to it is, in fact, the passage of Russia sanctions, when the Senate voted to sanction Russia, and the president didn't want to have that happen, and it was an overwhelming bipartisan vote, I guess now a little over a year and a half ago. In this instance, I think that there's a pretty clear line between what happened when the midterm elections, and I can't imagine that you would have Republicans behaving the way that they're behaving right now had Donald Trump been triumphant, had Republicans held the House, had they not suffered that historic thumping. I think the political context would be wildly different. And I think when the history of this gets written, 2 years from now, we will look back and say, if the support for the president begins to crumble over time as more indictments come out and as the Mueller report comes out, we will look back and say that was the first place where the dam started to break, and it was one of the two big things that was a different world after the election. One was you saw what the political consequences of Trump's presidency have been, Republicans getting shellacked at the polls, and then secondly, the world that we'll live in after Mueller finally reports. And I think those two things are the big things now about to happen. We've seen one of them, and the consequences are pretty clear.
Well, Mika, it's really hard to explain to working class voters in Youngstown, Ohio, how siding up with murderous Saudi sheiks lines up with making America great again. It doesn't fit the brand. In fact, it hurts him in the polls. Republicans in the
really
polls.
hurts our
So I just don't. The only explanation is money, and that is Donald Trump's personal money.
They have tapes too.
And the money that he hopes to make from the Saudis, the more money he hopes to make from the Saudis when he leaves office at the end of the first term.
All right, speaking of money, a new report is renewing questions over the potential conflicts of interest between some of President Trump's businesses and the government of Saudi Arabia. According to the Washington Post, lobbyists representing the Saudi kingdom reserved blocks of rooms at the president's Washington, D.C. hotel shortly after Trump was elected. The Post says the lobbyists locked down an estimated 500 nights at the luxury hotel over the course of just 3 months.
That's as obvious
they needed to hang out.
As the picture that they put on all of their buildings when he went there.
At least it wasn't a Ritz Riyadh situation.
500 rooms.
The paper says the lobbyists had been reserving large numbers of D.C. area hotel rooms as part of an unconventional campaign in which U.S. military veterans were given a free trip to Washington to lobby on Capitol Hill against a law the Saudis opposed. The lobbyists had previously put the vets up at hotels in Northern Virginia.
Makes more sense.
But according to the Post,
more economical.
In December of 2016, they shifted most of their bookings over to the Trump International Hotel, which the president still happens to own, spending more than $270,000 to put up 6 groups of veterans. The hotel bookings are at the center of a pair of federal lawsuits claiming that the president violated the Constitution by taking improper payments from foreign governments. A federal judge on Monday said lawyers for Maryland and Washington, D.C. can begin issuing subpoenas in the lawsuit. The Saudi embassy did not respond to the Post's requests for comment. Trump executives, speaking on the condition of anonymity, told the paper they were unaware at the time that Saudi Arabia was covering the bill and declined to comment on the rates they offer to guests. So, Jackie, this is your paper's reporting, and this is just from knowing how Trump operated before he went into the White House, some of this stuff is okay in some places, in some countries. But when you go to Washington, I remember my sister-in-law, who was married to my brother, who was the ambassador to Sweden, I couldn't send her shoes. There are very clear rules, and they actually call you out and call you up if they are broken.
Well, especially as Congress reporters and a whole lot of people are wondering why the president has gone to such lengths to defend MBS and to, extend one of the longest running scandals really of the Trump presidency with the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. This is a pretty suspicious story, especially since it's come out of a pair of lawsuits alleging that Trump's violated the Constitution by taking improper payments from
say
foreign
suspicious
governments.
because some people might say, oh, well, he just moved the rooms over. They were just getting business. It's business. What makes it more suspicious to you?
I mean, after Trump won the presidency, they moved the rooms to the Trump Hotel, spending, I think it was almost $300,000. And this story is just so layered in so many different ways. It also points out that the group that organized this, which the Saudi embassy refused to comment on, was using veterans as pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Again, John Heilemann, you don't need a Ouija board and Ellery Queen to figure this out. The president has, since 2015, when we were interviewing him about him praising Vladimir Putin, the president has steadfastly defended Putin and Russian atrocities. And he's, we find quotes from his sons saying that, most of their money they get from Russians.
Sure.
And you also, at the same time, now we're finding out, at the same time, they were chasing a deal in Moscow.
Yeah.
And here with the Saudis, the president, we can show you one clip after another, the president bragging about how they love Trump, how they buy, quote, lots of Trump toys, how, they've spent over $100 million giving Trump money. And so here you have two foreign policy matters where the president's thinking not only doesn't make sense, but it's out of line with the thinking of Republicans and Democrats in the Senate and the House, and radically out of line with the facts presented by the intel community. This is not hard.
No, not a complicated story. And 500 hotel rooms, that's like more than like a normal, like kind of Scarborough golf weekend, right? That's like more than that's a larger night.
Because that I'm the type of guy to go on golf.
Yeah, and bring 600, 700 of your friends.
Yeah,
right?
Let's see. How many of those, Willie, would you guess? Over under being one, how many golf
I'm going to take the under Nintendo Wii golf weekends.
Maybe.
Yes, well, that's what I meant.
Well, that would be
That's what I meant.
Maybe back
The
when
Wii enabled.
Remember when W was governor and they said that he'd play that video golf for about 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
Maybe I played a little
Wii golf. Wii golf.
Golden tee.
Again, you can't say it enough times, and one of the things I think we say it a lot on this show, but you can't say it enough times. The president of the United States ran for president not thinking he would win, not thinking he would get the Republican nomination, not thinking if he got it that he would then become president. The whole thing was set up to be a way to try to
brand enhancement, right?
Yes.
And a money-making venture.
And those two things obviously linked, and enhancing the international profile. The guy had spent the previous decade with his friend Michael Cohen running around the world trying to not just do what he'd done in the United States, which was to use the Trump name to make more money. This was a great opportunity to increase not just his profile, but his international profile, and to be able to use this as a biz dev opportunity. After he presumably lost, either as the nominee or in the general election, he would then go on and be in a great position to maximize revenues, maximize profits going forward on the basis of this. And with Trump, the thing you would have thought, though, any normal businessman running for president who had those ideas, was that once he won the presidency, he would abandon those things and say, well, I didn't think I was going to win, but now I'm president, and I got to be president. But no, he went into the White House thinking, well, I got into this for the money. I'm not going to abandon that primary objective. And so he has used the White House in ways that we are now seeing, that people have been talking about for a year and a half. He's using the White House to make money while being president and to try to enhance his opportunities to make more money after being president.
And again, if you want to focus on what he's doing, that's the prism you always have to look at.
Right.
There's a reason why the night Donald Trump got elected, he looked like he had been jabbed by a cattle prod. Melania was crying. Mike Pence's wife was angry. And the scene looked more like, a scene out of Awake than a hotel room where everybody just learned somebody was elected president. They didn't expect it. They didn't want it.
He's about money and business. That's all he's ever been about his entire life, and continues to be that way. You know who else thought these hotel stays were strange?
Who?
The veterans who were staying in them. Seriously, if you read through this piece, they say, I've been with a lot of veterans groups. I've never stayed in an $800 a night hotel. These are bootstrap groups who get
Yeah.
by on the generosity and donations of other people.
Oh
They
my
immediately thought it
God.
was weird. They